In 2010, the Educators and Scientists Free Trade Union of Georgia expressed no confidence to the teachers' certification process.
We organized meetings in each school to form a strike committee. The strike committee made a decision to allow a certain amount of time to the government by extending the strike from March the 2nd to 11th of May, and then to start the hunger strike after May the 1st demonstration.
Teachers are confronting the leader of the teachers' union. What are the teachers' accusations against Manana Ghurchumalidze? The government launched negative PR against Manana Ghurchumalidze, the president of the organization aimed at discrediting her. The campaign against the Educators and Scientists Free Trade Union of Georgia was part of a well-prepared plan of the government, which intended to bring their favorite candidate to the leadership of the union. Internationally, the government tried to keep a democratic face, but in reality it was annihilating the organization, which has a function of protecting the teachers of the country. The government made an attempt to create the so-called Yellow Union under the name of Professional Syndicate. The main purpose of the governmental plan was to force the incumbent president to resign. The process started in March of 2010. The Ministry of Education and Science of Georgia started controlling schools by internal orders and directives. According to the amendments made to the regulations in 2009, schools were obliged to implement directives issued by the ministry, including the decree number 837 of the minister, which was obligatory to be fulfilled by every public school in Georgia, thus creating an insurmountable obstacle for entering the schools. Lectures, trainings, or seminars shall be held in schools only at the discretion of the Ministry of Education. The goal of the decree was to close the doors of schools for the representatives of the Teachers Union of Georgia. The union activities were prohibited both in public school buildings and their territories. The measure would not suffice to Minister Dmitry Shashkin. He even decreed the same by an oral word.
On 9th of June of 2010, a special meeting was held at the Ministry of Education for the heads of regional educational resource centers. When they returned to their respective regions, they called a meeting with school principals to reveal to them the minister's order about the suspension of transfers of the union membership fees and not to signing contracts with the Teachers Union of Georgia. We learned that school principals and some of our representatives had attended the meeting.
Obviously, the government was aiming at imposing financial blockade on the organization, which they eventually achieved. Soon after having received the verbal ministerial order, the schools stopped transferring the union membership fees. Teachers were forced to quit the organization to join the so-called professional syndicate. Minister Shashkin openly supported the syndicate. On the 22nd of September, Manana Ghurchumalidze resigned. She left the country and sought political asylum in Canada. The first part of the governmental plan was fulfilled. Consequently, teachers were supposed to elect a new leader on October the 30th of 2010. In order to implement the second part of the plan, the government needed to remove from the charter of the organization the compulsory criterion for electing president and clean the way for their trusted candidate. To serve the government's purpose, a group was created, headed by Eka Cherkezishvili, who at that time used to be the head of the Tbilisi organization of the country's teachers' union. Complicated was the period of preparation for the Union Congress. Two candidates expressed desire to run for president: Maia Kobakhidze, leader of the union branch, and math teacher of the Tbilisi Public School, number 32, and Maia Kobakhidze, ex-president of the organization. The Union Credentials Committee registered only Maia Kobakhidze as a candidate. The other candidacy was declined because she could not meet the charter requirements.
Unfortunately, the Credential Committee refused to register Maia Kobakhidze as presidential candidate because she left the organization in 2007 and she was not a delegate of the union.
The governmental plan was going to fail. A new scenario was formed to disrupt the Union Congress. The Congress, which was attended by special observers from international organizations, was declared closed for mass media. However, part of television journalists were enthusiastically trying to enter the building where the Congress took place. Finally, before the president was elected, the media were allowed to enter the building. The advisor to Secretary General of Education International, Gaston Delahaye, recalls the moment when the journalists showed up at the Congress. A group of 10 cameramen and journalists kept outside, marched into the Congress session hall, and took positions. Eka Cherkezishvili, the Tbilisi chair, was on the floor. It is clear her speech before marching of media was planned, and it could not be perceived as coincidence. It was aimed at disrupting the process of the Congress.
Only being a good teacher, being a good leader, is not enough for the organization. As a sign of my protest, I'm abstaining from voting. I'm leaving the hall. Follow me if you are with me.
Aiming at disrupting the elections, part of the delegates followed, walking out the session hall. The break was announced and confrontations continued outside the hall. The Educators and Scientists Free Trade Union of Georgia is not just one school. It is a huge organization with its financial, material, and human resources. A person who does not have any experience in those three fields and lacks the leadership features, except being a leader of a local branch organization, will be unable to lead such an enormous organization. I am awfully displeased. How can there be only one candidate in presidential elections? Moreover, she does not have any experience.
They have brought in a stupid woman.
Why are you insulting her?
I'm not insulting her. I'm just saying that she is illiterate.
How do you know?
I have listened to her speech.
Do you have your own candidate, ma'am?
I do not, but...
Are you a leader of a branch? You cannot get your salary. That's why. Why cannot a teacher be president of the organization? She had all the rights and met all the criteria of the union charter. Application for candidacy was open, but there were only 2 applications received, and among them, Maia was eligible for registration.
I'm here today with the dignity of a teacher, everyday work of a teacher, yes, from local organization and with clean hands. I have been protecting my members' interests and rights without any financial means.
Please confirm your vote by raising your voting cards. After the break, 111 delegates voted unanimously in favor of Maia Kobakhidze. Anyone against? Any abstentions? None. Congratulations. International observers made public statements about the results of the Congress. Those comments were broadcast by only one television, though. I represent international organization, Education International, which comprises 60 million members across the world. Educators and Scientists Free Trade Union of Georgia is our affiliate. From my observation, the proceedings was in full conformity with the legitimacy and democratic principles. The organization elected a new president, Maia Kobakhidze. In some cases, the number of candidates matters. Democratic process considers application of candidates. In this case, one candidate registered. Regarding the delegates' walkout from the session, I had observed they were convinced that they would fail and therefore they left the session. Other TV stations interviewed international observers on legitimacy of the elections as well, but it was not broadcast. President of Teachers Union of Georgia was not elected. There was only one candidate in the elections. President of the Teachers Union could not be elected. The Congress was disrupted. There was only one candidate up for election. The government-controlled TV stations announced that the Congress was disrupted, but later they changed the information. The Teachers Union elected a president. Maia Kobakhidze replaced Manana Ghurchumalidze. Out of 203 delegates, 111 voted for her. I would like to congratulate Maia Kobakhidze as well as all citizens and teachers of Georgia, as they demonstrated that they still have their voice. Today, they exercised their right and elected a new leader. It was a step made forward towards democracy and victory against totalitarianism, suppression, and intimidation of society.
I'm sure this was all instigated by the government, since they wanted to have their own easily controllable candidate. They want to have their own president in the union, but this will never happen. The Teachers Union is a union of employees, while the government is an employer. Eka Cherkezishvili has an ambition to lead the organization. What happened at the Congress is the continuation of the plan of the Ministry of Education.
The plan is to elect Eka Cherkezishvili as an acting president, but it will not happen. According to government scenario, Eka Cherkezishvili should have become acting president of the organization. We make more than 1/3 of the delegates. We held the executive board meeting where we decided to express our distrust to former acting president and electing a new one. After the Congress, the situation became even worse. Eka Cherkezishvili proclaimed herself an acting president of the Teachers Union and applied with letters to representatives of international organizations. On December the 13th of 2010, Education International received a letter from a person called Ekaterina Cherkezishvili, who claims to be the president of Educators and Scientists Free Trade Union of Georgia. Education International and its members deplore subsequent attempts to undermine the new president of the union. We kindly ask you to inform this to Mrs. Cherkezishvili, as her intentions constitute not only a violation of the Union Charter, but also an attempt against the organization. Educators and Scientists Free Trade Union of Georgia boycotts the newly elected president, as they claim that she was illegally elected. Regarding this issue, an executive board meeting took place in the Technical University of Georgia. The government-controlled group established alternative governing body, a legitimate executive board. They held a meeting and declared distrust to the elected president. The executive board meeting was broadcast by TV stations as well.
They have not elected Maia Kobakhidze, hence I consider that the results are fake.
The developments connected with the election of the new leader of the organization attracted the attention of the diplomatic corps and international organizations. Education International made a public statement.
feeling of hope was at risk, and the situation was extremely tensed. Pressure was from each angle. The organization was in need to raise from ashes by the effective actions that was planned by the U.S. Solidarity Center Georgian Program Director Robert Fielding. The situation was tangible. The activities of the trade union blocked. We held several meetings to elaborate a strategy aimed to strengthen the organization and re-establish membership.
On the 17th of November, in about a fortnight's time after the Congress, U.S. Ambassador John Buss met with the representatives of Georgian Trade Unions Confederation. The problems I have heard during the meeting are characteristic of a transitional society. It is not our role to solve the problem. We can only help promote a dialogue in the society.
The government has put duress on the union. They terminated collective agreements and are forcing the school teachers to join the syndicate.
International support towards the organization increased, and the government was compelled to take certain measures to alleviate the international pressure. On the 30th of November of 2010, the Minister of Education and Science of Georgia, Dmitry Shashkin, made a statement on the ministry's webpage, where he called on the school principals to bring their relations with trade unions into conformity with legislation. In compliance with that statement, the teachers' union managed to sign collective agreements with 500 schools. However, the process was obstructed based on the minister's oral instructions. Court against the president of the Educators and Scientists Free Trade Union of Georgia. At the first preparatory court hearing, the judge proposed settlement of the case to the parties. The illegitimate executive board temporarily stopped functioning. The Eka Cherkezishvili group filed a lawsuit in the Tbilisi City Court. Martoleki and others against Educators and Scientists Free Trade Union of Georgia. The plaintiff demanded to annul the election results of the Union Congress. At the same time, the newly elected president was publicly stigmatized as illegitimate by mass media. We are going to continue action via court to annul the Congress outcome. According to the Union Charter, 103 delegates should have elected the president. However, there were less than 80 people in the hall. There is a big difference between 103 and 80.
Unfortunately, the only demand the plaintiffs had was Maia Kobakhidze's resignation and an extraordinary Congress to take place.
The government-controlled group even attempted to occupy the central office of the union forcefully. While fighting against the union with various methods, the group went even further and planned to arrange a legitimate Congress on December the 25th of 2010. 2 days before the planned Congress, the United States ambassador in Georgia, John Bass, initiated a meeting with the teachers' union representatives. We support the legitimate union of teachers. We promote workers' rights to join the union of their choice in order to voice their problems with the employers. We consider the union as the important component of a democratic society. On the 11th of March of 2011, President of the European Trade Union Committee for Education, Ronnie Smith, sent an official letter to President Saakashvili. Since the former president of Educators and Scientists Free Trade Union of Georgia, Ms. Maia Kobakhidze, had resigned, the Union Congress elected Ms. Maia Kobakhidze a new president on the 25th of October of 2010. However, Education International and the European Trade Union Committee for Education have noticed a deterioration of the relations between the teachers' union and the Georgian government. Also, a lawsuit has been filed by a minority group within the teachers' union to cancel the result of the Union Congress. To observe and monitor the first court session on the 17th of March, special delegation of 5 officials of the European Trade Union Committee for Education arrived in Tbilisi. On behalf of the European Trade Union Committee for Education, we express our deep concern on the developments in the independent organization. Practically, they lost financial resources. We will continue our observation and we will arrive at the next hearing on the 1st of April. The government realized that the court would not come up with a biased verdict and made a decision to prolong the process. Endless court sessions were aimed at forcing the newly elected president of the teachers' union to resign. The legitimacy of the presidential election was ruled by 2 judges of the Tbilisi City Court. Later, the appeals court endorsed the civil court verdicts in July of 2014. The teachers' union systematically provided the international organizations with the facts of pressure and the developments related to the union. Maia Kobakhidze held numerous meetings with international representatives. She met with the Deputy Secretary of the United States State Department, Secretary General and Chief Consultant of International Labor Organization, and the leaders of international trade unions. International representatives negatively evaluated the actions of the government in 2010, 2011, and 2012. 2010. Shashkin refused to meet and enter into dialogue with the new president of Educators and Scientists Trade Union of Georgia. Elected on October the 30th, the union also reported that the so-called mandators, the school security personnel hired by the ministry, far exceeded their stated mandate. 2011. The teachers' union reported the government's interference in the union activity during the year. The union reported that school mandators tracked which teachers were union members and alleged the teachers were dismissed due to their union membership. 2012. The government prohibited the union meetings in schools. In contrast, the Professional Educational Syndicate, a parallel government-created union, was permitted to exercise the check-off system, and its representatives were allowed to hold meetings with teachers in schools. The government also interfered in the union elections. After an 18-month delay, in 2010, the case was brought to court by Professional Educational Syndicate members challenging the unanimous election of the union president, Maia Kobakhidze, which was decided in Kobakhidze's favor in April. In March of 2011, at the United Kingdom Embassy, head of Georgian Trade Unions Confederation Irakli Petriashvili, Gocha Alexandria and Maia Kobakhidze held a meeting with the United Kingdom delegation. The delegation members were concerned about the threats that the teachers' union leaders were exposed to. Maia Kobakhidze is the president of the Educators and Scientists Free Trade Union of Georgia. Her story is the one that disgraces the government of Georgia. She was called to the Ministry of Education to resign her post in order to be replaced by a woman who was not even a member of the union. The offer to Maia was a comfortable job in the education ministry. She refused. She was warned to be careful, and she was reminded of a person who was murdered a year before in mysterious circumstances. Maia is convinced this was a veiled threat to her life. On the 9th of May of 2011, the House of Representatives of the United States Congress sent a petition to Mr. Saakashvili. We write to express our serious concern regarding an apparent campaign by the Georgian government to disadvantage the Educators and Scientists Free Trade Union of Georgia, according to a pending petition to remove Georgia from the list of beneficiaries under the United States Generalized System of Preferences. Officials of the Georgian government are prohibiting the transfer of membership dues from members to the union, encouraging workers to disaffiliate and join a non-union association, interfering in the operation of the union, and threatening and intimidating the union's president and other representatives. Last year, over $190 million in exports from Georgia entered the United States under the GSP program. Trade representative is required by statute to deny eligibility to any country that is not taking steps to afford internationally recognized rights to workers. European Trade Union Committee for Education was regularly holding discussions on the sturdy situation of the Teachers Union of Georgia. They also made a decision to provide financial and other kind of support for the organization in crisis. The European Trade Union Committee for Education Director Martin Romer arrived in Georgia twice. During his first, he met with Filip Dimitrov, the head of the European Union delegation, and Dmitry Shashkin, the Minister of Education and Science of Georgia.
During the financial blockade, the interaction with teachers and trade union was made possible by the international project Civic Voices in close cooperation with the American Federation of Teachers and U.S. Solidarity Center. The meetings and seminars with teachers were arranged on neutral territories outside the schools with financial support of U.S. Solidarity Center.
While trying to maintain independence and self-existence, the trade union was spending all its resources to achieve its main aim: protect labor and social rights of the teachers. Due to the absence of communication with the government, the union president publicly addressed the Ministry of Education and Science on educational issues. Newspapers were actively publishing the interviews.
School security officer must not impair the teacher's authority.
The school director did not want to fire the teacher, but directly said that there was an order from the ministry and he would be dismissed from job unless he dismisses the teacher. A director who will sign an agreement with the trade union will eventually leave the post.
Several public questions to Dmitry Shashkin. Shashkin's new tricks against teachers.
What are the additional rights given to school security officers, and how compromising are the materials collected against teachers? Teachers are signing 4-month agreements.
What drawbacks are there in the certification process, and why should be the rule of 78 lorry bonuses for teachers need to be changed?
The number of teachers dismissed for their political views is growing. Our initiative is to create a commission that will investigate the reasons for teachers' dismissal. In 2011 and 2012, up to 10,000 teachers were fired from schools. During these years, the certification process was discrediting teachers. Why are 67,000 teachers blamed and accused for all those trends in educational system? If there are no professional teachers in Georgia and certification tests are adequate, how do our students get high grades in the national exams? Considering the fact that absolute majority of private tutors work at public schools. Lawyers of the organization were protecting the rights of illegally dismissed teachers in court. In 2011 and 2012, 4 court cases ended in favor of teachers. Reading Rustaveli, the National Day of Georgian Language, is celebrated at Tbilisi First Gymnasium. It is the 7th time that the competition in literature is held here. Enhancement of teachers' qualification and presentation of modern methodology. More than 200 teachers from 106 schools were trained by foreign instructors who directly shared their experience.
The best lesson in Georgian language and literature. A competent jury named 3 winners out of 22 candidates. Winners were awarded.
Different competitions were organized for teachers and students. Various projects were implemented, such as Reading Rustaveli and international project Civic Voices. Within the framework of the project, called Civic Voices, more than 500 civic education teachers were trained, and 3 of them participated in a 2-week internship program in the United States. Other events were also taking place annually. Before the parliamentary elections on October the 1st of 2012, the Teachers Union of Georgia made a public statement in support of the students' rallies. The trade union representatives participated in talk shows where the following issues were discussed, like centralization of public schools and political pressures on teachers.
19 teachers who were dismissed for their political views from schools who had asked for this support and legal services. Some teachers requested help from other non-governmental organizations.
Thus, the Teachers Union was fighting in 2 directions. In increasing trust in the teachers' community, the union's success was notable. To conclude, the union efforts and activity before the parliamentary elections of 2012 had impressive feedback, as political pressure was removed and trade union leaders were allowed in schools. The teachers massively and freely started joining the union.
In 2012 November, international project Teachers Advancing Great Culture was launched with financial support of the U.S. State Department.
The union starts restoring regional branches. The first meeting was conducted in Poti, where future plans were discussed with local teachers.
After 3 years of break, meeting with teachers was held in Gurjani by the union.
The union president Maia Kobakhidze carefully listened to the issues of public school teachers in Gori municipality.
According to Maia Kobakhidze, ensuring the rights of teachers starts from increasing the educators' salaries.
After 3 years, the trade union organized a meeting with employees of schools in Akhaltsihe. Nowadays, the teachers' union enjoys the membership of more than 35,000 education workers.
In recent years, there were frequent cases when teachers had to stay in school, when students were on holidays. It was a violation of their rights. Some of them used to ask for an unpaid leave.
Cooperation with the government has been resumed. The union initiated several proposals to improve the teachers' social and labor conditions. We presented new initiatives. 2-month paid leaves for teachers. Teachers will receive their salary of 2 months prior to their vacations. Salaries of administrative employees will grow. Education for all in Georgia. Minister of Education of Science of Georgia met with the members of the EFA and signed Memorandum of Understanding, which is aimed to promote sustainable development of education and its implementation policy. Will the teacher's salary be increased? The trade union is preparing teachers for strike. Nowadays, there are more than 65,000 teachers in Georgia. Their average salary equals to 350 lari, and the educators' trade union sees necessity to increase the teachers' salaries.
We consider that the government should increase the teachers' average salary to equal the average salary of civil servants.
The teachers' union imposes demands on the National Examination Center as well well as on the Teachers' Professional Development Center. As it is indicated in the union statement, teachers are in unfair conditions. Their opinions were not taken into consideration.
The results of the exams obviously showed the challenges in teachers' professional development and training system.
But together with positive trends, the yellow unions emerged like mushrooms. Ekaterina Cherkezishvili, together with the activists of the professional syndicate and former teachers' union board members, established the so-called alternative trade union, calling it Central Education Trade Union. 2013, a new trade union is established by a national movement.
Shashkin's friends created a new trade union.
Shashkin's friends and Taras Shavshishvili are blackmailing school directors.
Who is spreading the proclamations?
This was the main reason for Martin Romer's second visit to Georgia and the reason for numerous official letters sent to the Georgian government. November 13 of 2012, the European Trade Union Committee for Education is pleased that today the Teachers Union of Georgia places great trust into the future developments of labor relations under the new government. June the 3rd of 2013, along with the positive developments establishing the new union by high-level officials of the Ministry of Education, legal entity, Teachers' Professional Development Center, and for our understanding, such activities are not accepted as a standard practice. The real democratic unions are to express the will and defend the interests of members, but as the leaders of Yellow Organization, Union of General Education, have not been elected by members and do not represent the interests of employers. Such organizations cannot be considered as social partners, and they are not treated equally along with the democratic values established by trade unions. Educators and Scientists Free Trade Union of Georgia celebrated the World Teachers' Day and 107th anniversary of the union. Within the framework of the global campaign, the Teachers Union of Georgia celebrated the World Teachers' Day in 2013 and 2014. Preserve the past, protect the present, and inspire the future. The slogan of today's event is Unite for Quality Education. By showing our story from Congress to Congress, we analyze mistakes to make concrete plans at present for future development of the Union. Unite for quality education for a better future. Showing our story from Congress to Congress, we analyze mistakes by showing mistakes to make